Thanks, Neil.
Senator Jeff Sessions, a no on Sonia Sotomayor. Meanwhile, new home sales surging, jumping 11% in June, the largest increase we've seen in, what, almost 9 years. My next guest, not at all surprised. Real estate expert Connie Groot says if you give buyers a bargain, they will jump on it. And Connie, with the price slashes we've seen pretty much across all regions of the country, a lot of bargains. Is this that sweet spot?
Oh, well, absolutely. There's so many reasons why it's exciting to buy a new home today. Builders are giving incentives. They have actually for the last couple of years been giving incentives and upgrades to people that buy homes. You've got low rates, very, very low prices, in some cases 40% lower than they were a year ago. So, and in California, actually, we have a tax credit of up to $10,000 if you buy a new home that you can also use with the first-time homebuyer tax credit.
Well, see, I was going to ask you about that, Connie, because I was wondering how much of this stuff has been artificially induced by the government, that we all welcome positive trends and a reversal of what had been a lousy housing environment. But how much has this been sort of propped up by the government offering these credits and home guarantees and protecting first-time home buyers, and now extending it to virtually all home buyers? How much of that artificially sort of inflates this?
Well, I mean, I'm for a free market, so I can understand your concern. However, I think a lot of people, there was also a lot of fear that kept people from moving forward. That's what I've experienced. People were thinking that it was the end of the world last year. And so even if they wanted to buy and they could buy, they were not buying because they were just thinking that you know, they were scared, or they were thinking that prices would continue to drop. So prices ended up dropping and going lower and lower because nobody was jumping in. So
well then maybe the government helped, and maybe in both existing home sales and new home sales that have each seen 3 back-to-back-to-back hat tricks here. I'm wondering if this is the start of a trend. I mean, the government role notwithstanding, do you see this turning around?
I think in certain areas where prices are low and they're experiencing, if the buyer perceives a deal, they're going to be out there buying. I was out with somebody this weekend, and we looked at a condo, but she said that, you know, I think it's just too expensive. I love it. I said, write an offer for something lower. It's probably overpriced. But she wouldn't do it. She just, no. You know, so a lot of sellers think that if they overprice something and a buyer sees it and they fall in love with it, that they're going to make an offer to purchase, but they don't. Typically, they are really not doing that. And so you need to be the deal. You need to price your home smart, aggressively. That is the way to sell a home, whether it's a $200,000 home or a $2 million home. And I'm seeing that across the board, across the country. So
what I'm seeing is that a lot of the sellers are saying, and we could see this in California if we took a comparison of what's going on there, people are finally just, those selling homes, for example, existing homes, or even builders to that extent, they're saying, all right, I got to get this stuff out. I'm going to go.
Right. Right, exactly. In the more affluent areas, well-established neighborhoods, the sellers are a little more stubborn with their prices, and they're taking a little more time. But that's actually where you can also get a good deal. Because if a home is overpriced, and in many areas they are still overpriced, a buyer can go in and they'll be the only one there, and they can make a lower offer, and it will take time for the seller, you know, to realize it. Maybe many counter offers. It might take a couple months of negotiating back and forth, but there's a chance to get a really good deal because nobody else is making an offer because it's overpriced. So I say write an offer on the home in the best location you can possibly afford, and you might get lucky and get the best deal out there.
All right, Connie. They'll probably do just that now that you said it. Connie Groot in LA, thank you. Well, you know, the House Speaker speaks out.